Very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. We are coming to you live and direct from our latest studio complex, Studio R, located here at Braybrook Place, Colombo. I'm Darshan Kumar Singh. Up first in your headlines.
Search and rescue operations to locate the missing youth in the Bulletin landslide suspended. Many parts of the island to experience incessant rain. Landslide warnings issued to several districts. Ordinary level examinations to commence tomorrow. Special program in place for candidates in adverse weather areas. President reiterates his stance on the Hambantota port. Asian Affairs Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China meets Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. Hambantota port also discussed.
As Newsfirst have been reporting throughout the day, incessant rains and inclement weather is prevalent throughout the island. To bring you a comprehensive report on this, John Fernando is ready in the newsroom. John, off to you.
Thank you, Taruja. Now, as you know, several areas across and around the island have been experiencing heavy torrential downpours since last evening. Landslides were reported, earth slips were reported, and several areas across the island were inundated due to this heavy downpour. But among all of that, a tragic incident was reported this morning. A school student missing and 3 others were reported dead as a result of a landslide in Malapattav area in Valapane.
Over a year ago, Gigi Rangbanda lamented over the situation they had to face as a result of the risk of landslides. 58-year-old Rangbanda was a labourer. Rangbanda, along with his wife, 52-year-old Bisomanika, their 16-year-old son Kalanapathum, and a 17-year-old relative Dinusha lived together in this house. A landslide took place at this location around 6:30 last evening, while all 4 of them were in this house. Heavy showers from last afternoon hampered the search and rescue operations that were launched. The army and the police were able to locate and recover the remains of Rangbanda, Bisomanika, and the relative this morning. A landslide took place in an area close to this house in the year 2007 as well. The residents who continue to live here amidst the high risk claim that a quarry located within close proximity to the house was the reason behind the landslide threat.
මරණ හතරටම වග කියන්න ඕන වලපනේ ප්‍රාදේශ සභාවේ සභාපතිතුමා විපක්ෂ නායකතුමිය. මේ ගල්වල පවත්වාගෙන යන්න ඒගොල්ලෝ තමයි අවසර දීලා තියෙන්නේ. මේගොල්ලන්ට අයින් වෙන්නකොට අයින් වෙන්න තැනක් පෙන්වන්නේ නැහැ නේ. ගෙදරින් යන්න කියන කොහෙට කියලා යන්නද මේ මිනිස්සු.
Rangbanda had raised this issue and the threat posed to their lives on a number of occasions to the officials. However, these pleas have fallen on deaf ears, resulting in an absolute tragic end to their lives. Ranbanda's 16-year-old son was to sit for the ordinary level examination tomorrow. His remains are yet to be discovered. The remains that have been recovered thus far are placed at the mortuary of the Valapane hospital.
The question remains, this tragic incident. Was it an incident that the authorities did not simply see coming? Thus, as Newsfirst will keep a close watch on this abandoned quarry that the residents of the area claim responsible for the death of 4 innocent individuals. Now, is this the real reason behind this tragedy, as the villagers claim? If so, who is actually responsible? Us at Newsfirst will definitely keep a close watch on this tragic incident. Now, also, according to experts, human activity is believed to be contributory to the increase in landslides with rain. Landslides and earth slips were reported during several areas in the last 24 hours. Let's take a look.
Meanwhile, 2 women were injured last evening when a mound of earth collapsed on a house in the Coville Road area in Bandarwala. Our correspondent said the mound had collapsed as they were bathing in the back of their house. Residents of the area rescued the 2 women while they were under the mound. Traffic on the Badulla Passara main road was at a standstill at about 10 a.m. today because an earth embankment collapsed onto the road in the area between the 5th and the 6th mile post. Although the earth embankment was cleared from the road, police advises the general public to be vigilant when using the road. Meanwhile, the flow of vehicles was limited to only one lane on the Ellavella main road due to the earth embankment collapsing onto many places on the Ravanayal area. According to our correspondent, the road has been cracked in several places in the area. An earth embankment collapsed onto a house in Haddawala, Dambawinda in Valimata. 3 rooms of the house were completely destroyed from the incident.
Now, against a backdrop where several areas across the island are inundated due to the heavy torrential downpours, landslides are reported, earthslits are reported, but yet the GCE ordinary level examination is scheduled to commence tomorrow. Now, many candidates sitting for the GCE O-level examination are facing severe difficulties due to the prevailing rainy condition or the prevailing tragic weather condition. Now, what steps will be taken regarding this matter? Newsfirst spoke to the Commissioner General of Examinations, Sanath B. Pujitha, regarding this.
If the students who are sitting for the exam are facing any inconveniences, the zonal education directors and the provincial education directors have been informed of the steps that should be followed. For now, disasters have been reported from Passara, Badulla and in Valapane in the Nuwara district. We would only allow those who are affected by the disasters to go to the closest examination hall. We would look into the situations after midnight today and tomorrow, and the department officers will give necessary advice to all examination centres and coordinating officers.
Now, for a much more comprehensive weather update during the upcoming few days, Director General of the Met Department, Atula Karunaratne, explained the weather forecast this evening.
The east-western monsoon that has an impact on the island has been active. Therefore, there is a possibility of showers or thunder showers to be experienced in the north, north-central, eastern, northwestern, over and especially in the central and southern provinces. The sky in these areas can be of brown color. There is a possibility that the skies can be cloudy and dark. In addition to that, rest of the areas of the country can experience showers or thunder showers in the afternoon or in the evening. With this constant rainy condition, we will expect heavy rainfall. There is a possibility of showers exceeding 100 millimeters in the north, north-central, eastern, Uva and southern provinces.
දකුණු වගේ පළාත්වල සාමාන්‍ය මිලිමීටර් 100 ඉක්මන වර්ෂාපතනයක් තිබීමේ හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා.
Now, due to the torrential rainfall in many areas across the island, sluice gates of many reservoirs including Daduroya, Tabbowava and Polgolla have been opened. The authorities request the locals living adjacent to these rivers and tanks to be vigilant about the prevailing weather condition.
During the 24-hour window ending 8:30 this morning, Kurunegala experienced rainfall of 188 millimeters. As a result of the heavy rainfall, all 8 sluice gates of the Daduroya were opened up by 3 feet each. 16,500 cubic feet of water per second is being released to the Daduroya. 4 sluice gates of the Tabbo reservoir were opened since last night, with 1,600 cubic feet per second being released to the Naneri Oya. Around 1 a.m. today, the engineering department of the Mahavali Dam in Polgolla took steps to open 3 of the 10 sluice gates to control the water level, taking into consideration the heavy rainfall in the upper catchment areas of the Mahavali River. The engineering department urges the public to be vigilant of the prevailing weather condition. Meanwhile, the 3 sluice gates of the Unnachi reservoir were also opened up due to the prevailing weather condition. Our correspondent said the water level of the Iranamadu reservoir have increased up to 22 feet, while the water level of the Yodavava in Mana has also increased. Meanwhile, nearly 25 houses in the Norwood area were inundated due to the Kesselgamu Oya overflowing. Our correspondent said nearly 100 people have been inconvenienced due to the situation. However, added the flood has receded now. Locals in several areas including Valimada, Girambe and Dangamu have been inconvenienced due to the heavy rainfall last night that resulted in the overflow of the Uma Oya. Our correspondent said nearly 100 acres of crops in that area have been destroyed due to the prevailing weather. As at 8:30 this morning, Puttlam experienced a rainfall of 115.7 millimeters, resulting in several areas being inundated, including Udaya Valley, Samagimawata and Noor Nagar. 200 families residing in these areas have been inconvenienced. By 5 this evening, the Kiran Bridge in Batticaloa was also inundated. The bridge that was under construction on the road across the Malwatu has been completely destroyed. A water bowser used to transport water for the construction of the bridge was also washed away by about 200 meters and was stuck in a nearby pond. The torrential rain in the Ritigala area has devastated the Purana Vavu connected to the Kaluoya in Ritigala. Farmers charged that this was mainly due to the lack of proper standards, even though the tank was renovated at a cost of 4.5 million rupees 1.5 years ago. The bunt of the Atavida tank was also damaged this morning and was later restored by the army or the Ilunkuluma army camp in Kakirawa.
Now, it's no surprise while such a weather condition prevails in the island, day-to-day activities of the general public will definitely be deeply disturbed. But will the authorities be able to take measures fast enough to make sure that the important day-to-day activities of the general public can be once again smoothly run? Now, power disruptions in several areas have been reported due to the prevailing weather condition. Our correspondent said certain areas are still experiencing the power outage. Newsfirst spoke to Sulakshana Jayawardena, the media spokesperson of the Ministry of Power, in this regard.
Power disruptions have been reported in several areas including Diyatalawa, Balangoda, Haputale, Bandaravela, Ruwanwella and Kurunagala. We have taken the necessary steps to restore power in these areas. Power supply to more than 5,000 consumers have been disrupted. We are trying our best to restore power to everyone and solve this matter within a day. However, the prevailing weather condition is obstructing the restoration process.
So once again, the message to the general public is take adequate precautions to minimize damages which will be caused in the upcoming few days due to the heavy downpours or due to the weather condition in the country. Stay tuned to News First as we will be reporting you the very latest as it happens. Back to the studio.
Thank you very much, John, for that comprehensive update. Now shifting your attention from the tragic weather-related incidents and accidents to the political affairs of the country. Concluding the maiden official overseas visit, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa arrived in the island last night.
The President and the delegation departed from New Delhi on the Sri Lanka-bound flight UL196 at 9:45 p.m. yesterday. The President engaged in this tour following an invitation extended by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. President Rajapaksa engaged in cordial discussions with his Indian counterpart Ramnath Kovind and Indian Premier Narendra Modi. The Indian Prime Minister pledged a $400 million credit line for development in Sri Lanka and an additional $50 million credit line for counter-terrorism activities. The President's media division reported that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa invited Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Sri Lanka. The President held bilateral discussions with several diplomats as well as the National Defence Advisor of India, Ajit Doval. Last evening, the President called on the chairperson of the Mahabodhi Society, Chief Incumbent Thera of the Sanchi Chetagiri Viharaya, Venerable Banagal Upatissa Thera. During the meeting, the President has discussed the current status of the Sanchi Viharaya. The Venerable Thera had informed the President about the programs underway to educate the pilgrims on the historic information of the temple in Sinhalese. The President's media division noted that Venerable Banagal Upatissa Thera had also informed the President of the steps that have been taken to establish a training centre for Indian Samanera Theras.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa during his state visit to India has spoken to several journalists, including the editor of the Hindu newspaper, Suhasini Haidar.
Speaking to the editor of the Hindu newspaper in an interview, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has said that the 19th Amendment is a failure and if there is a two-thirds majority in Parliament, it will be dropped from the Constitution. He has added the only way you can even make the 19th Amendment work is with two brothers. When asked, are you promising talks on devolution or the 13th Amendment on rights for the Tamil majority areas, the President has replied, the 13th Amendment is part of the Constitution and is functional except for some areas like control of police powers which we can't implement. The President says, I am willing to discuss alternatives to that. When questioned about justice and equality for Tamils, the President has responded that his approach is to provide development and a better living. In terms of freedoms and political rights, the President says that there are already provisions in the Constitution. The President has added, no Sinhalese will say don't develop the area or don't give jobs, but political issues are different. The President says, and I quote, I would say, judge me by my record on development of North and East after 5 years, unquote. Rejecting allegations regarding disappearances and white vans, the President has questioned why the former government didn't pursue these charges. When questioned about China, the President has said, I want to tell India, Japan, Singapore and Australia and other countries to also come and invest in us. They should tell their companies to invest in Sri Lanka and help us grow, because if they do not, then not only Sri Lanka, but countries all over Asia will have the same problem. The Chinese will take the Belt and Road Initiative all over unless other countries provide an alternative. Speaking about the mechanism for coordination, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said, I think the main issue India could have with us would be on our relations with China or Pakistan. But if we don't do anything that creates suspicions amongst Indian authorities, there will not be any problem. The editor of Hindu has questioned, quote, India has also had issues with Sri Lanka's defence cooperation with China in the past, especially over the docking of Chinese submarines when you were Defence Secretary. In 2007, you said India has a bee in its bonnet on the issue. Will you be more sensitive to those concerns this time around as President, unquote. The President has responded, quote, when the Chinese asked for the submarines to be docked, officials considered it a normal port call and approved it. Former NSA Shiv Shankar Menon has written in his book, Gotabaya gave his word that he would not do anything counter to India and he kept his word. So I was genuinely sensitive, unquote. The President also has said, quote, I believe that the Sri Lankan government must have control of all strategically important projects like Hambantota. After all, these are not like hotels or a terminal, but to give control of a port or an airport or our harbours is different. With our control, they can do anything. But these 99-year lease agreements will have an impact on our future. The next generation will curse our generation for giving away precious assets otherwise. That is why our party protested these decisions, unquote.
The Ceylon today quoting an official reported on the Hambantota port deal.
The newspaper report read as follows, quote, China Merchants Port Holdings Company Limited, which owns an 85% stake in the Hambantota port, given to them on a 99-year lease agreement, has said the port deal was between two sovereign countries and renegotiating it can only be done through mutual consent, unquote. The paper further said, quote, a senior official of the Hambantota International Port Group Limited, who wished to remain anonymous, said that only a commercial agreement can be revisited and renegotiated, but not an agreement signed between two sovereign countries, unquote.
The Director General of the Department of Asian Affairs of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of China, Wu Jinhao, met with Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa today.
The meeting took place at the Temple Trees. Chinese Ambassador to Sri Lanka, His Excellency Cheng Shu-yuan, former Minister Professor G.L. Piris and the Secretary to the Prime Minister Gamini Senarath were also present at the meeting. Meanwhile, during a religious event in Kandy later on in the day, journalists questioned the Prime Minister as to whether the Hambantota port was discussed during the meeting in the morning.
සාමාන්‍ය සාකච්ඡා කරා අපි යම් එකඟතාවයකට එන්න කටයුතු කරන්න අපි දිගින්ම සාකච්ඡා කරගෙන යන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Pakistan, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, is due to arrive in Sri Lanka tonight.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that the visiting Pakistani Minister of Foreign Affairs is scheduled to meet President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and Minister of Foreign Affairs Dinesh Gunawardena. The ministry added that Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi is arriving in the country to extend the wishes of the Pakistani government to President Rajapaksa. Meanwhile, the Foreign Ministry also noted that the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of China is also scheduled to arrive in Sri Lanka next week.
State Minister of Investment Promotion Keheliya Rambukwella said he will review the foreign investments claimed to have been attracted by the former government. When News First inquired about this matter, the State Minister said despite claims of having received such FDIs, the former government had not actually received them.
One of the most anticipated foreign investments was the Volkswagen car assembling facility. But this was nothing but a lie. Then they claimed of another foreign investment, an oil refinery project worth $23 million. We are currently reviewing this matter. From what we see, none of these had taken place in the proper manner. The State Minister further said, from now onwards, foreign investors will not be eligible to obtain loans from local banks. We don't expect foreign investors to invest 10% of their total investments in Sri Lanka and to take the rest from our country. This was what happened in local banks during the past. When a foreigner obtains a loan from a local bank, it is our money they take. They take our money and pay management fees. So we do not want foreign investors to take our money. They take our money, recover their 10% investment, takes another 10% of profits and then leaves the country. So if we are to take a decision in this regard, we will not allow foreign investors to obtain loans from local banks. If foreign investors are to invest in Sri Lanka, they must bring in the total investment from another country. As far as I know, there are several institutions that obtain loans from Sri Lanka at 10%. They generate a profit of 10% and then divests to another country without anyone's knowledge. Employees of such companies are abandoned and the companies are acquired by the banks. We have monitored this situation well. We hope to formulate regulations in this regard.
The situation pointed out today by State Minister Keheliya Rambukwella was highlighted by News First during several previous instances. One of the many incidents include the non-repayment of loans worth billions obtained from state banks by MTD Walkers PLC. Ultimately, MTD Walkers PLC filed for bankruptcy and at one point, the company's shares at the Colombo Stock Exchange were to be sold. In addition, News First reported on the non-performing loans obtained from the state banks. W.M. Mendes and Company Limited, a subsidiary of Perpetual Treasuries Limited, implicated in the central bank bond scam, has a total debt of 2,912 billion rupees payable to state banks. It was revealed in June last year, state banks had suffered bad debt of more than 5 billion rupees. We revealed on the 24th of June this year that state banks reported a total bad debt of 31,459 billion rupees from those who had obtained a loan worth over 5 million rupees. When one analyzes the list of names of those who have been granted loans in the recent past, it could be observed that it is not without political patronage. Though they claimed the oil refinery project in Hambantota was a foreign direct investment, News First pointed out this was not the case even before the foundation stone for the project was laid. While we must take steps to prevent such irregularities from taking place, steps should also be taken to punish those who permitted and facilitated the process for foreign companies, friends and political confidants to exploit and waste public money.
Following are several views that were expressed regarding the alleged incident of local staffer at the Swiss embassy being threatened and being held against her will.
An official of the Swiss embassy has been abducted in a white van and has been questioned for hours and then released. The country is being criticized diplomatically and in the international arena in a very serious manner. The police are now in a situation where they are cleaning the garbage. The police officers who were catching the thieves are leaving the country because they are being subject to revenge. 704 officers attached to the CID have been prohibited from leaving the country and investigations have commenced. They are taking revenge from the officers who were investigating them. It has been only a few days since Gotabaya Rajapaksa became president. A former CID official fled the country. He sought asylum in Switzerland. Then they created a news that an official attached to the Swiss embassy was kidnapped and intimidated. That person has not lodged a complaint yet. Without even a complaint, this was investigated. None of what is being said could be seen when inspecting the CCTV footage in the area. It is clear the Swiss embassy has enacted this drama to bring disrepute to the new government. The remaining part is enacted by the political factions that lost. It is clear that these low-grade politicians are trying to bring disrepute to the country before the international community.
The Embassy of Switzerland to Sri Lanka issued an official statement with reference to the incident that transpired recently. The statement reads, quote, "A serious security incident involving a local employee of the Embassy of Switzerland in Colombo occurred. The employee was detained against their will in the street, forced to get into a car, seriously threatened at length by unidentified men and forced in order to disclose embassy-related information," unquote. It added, quote, "Several false pieces of information are circulating in the reporting of this incident. The Swiss Embassy in Colombo is issuing the following clarifications." The Swiss Embassy immediately lodged a formal complaint and is fully cooperating with the Sri Lanka authorities in order to support the police investigation and initiate an inquiry over the case while duly considering the health condition of the victim and their relatives. Due to a deteriorating health condition, the victim is currently not in a state to testify. It has been alleged that the Swiss government rejected a request for the extradition of an employee of the Sri Lankan Criminal Investigation Department and his family. No such request has been submitted.
How will the ruling party contest the upcoming general election? These were the views expressed in this regard.
We contested together in this election and we were successful. I think contesting together is the most suitable option. There is no need to change the symbol. Even this time we contested under the flower bud and achieved a great victory. That victory does not belong to us. That victory can be shared by the SLFP as well. Therefore, we don't have to think that this victory only belongs to us. I think it is best if we consider the flower bud as the symbol of everyone and contest under the flower bud.
And with that, it's a wrap of Primetime News for today. And before we leave you, we would like to tell you to be vigilant, to take care in these tragic times where the entire country is being battered by incessant and extreme weather. Good night.